Hey, everybody. Welcome to tonight's special training. It's not even a Monday. I don't even know what night it is. Wednesday? It's a Wednesday night, June 6th or so, and we're going to be talking about how can we earn the $500 cash bonus this month that the company is offering. What kinds of tools do we have? What does it look like to earn 40% on our sales and 9% on our team? What is the structure of our team that we need to have in order to get there? And then what are the strategies? So that's the agenda that I have planned for us over the next little while. And I'm going to leave room and time for some questions at the end, so that for what you don't catch, what you're nervous about, what doesn't make sense, you'll have a chance to actually ask about it. So the first thing I want to do, though, is you can unmute to answer these two questions. Tell me what each of you would do with $500 and what you would do with earning 40% on your own sales. Anybody can go first, doesn't matter. Give me just a quick answer. What would you do with $500?
Pay bills.
Which ones?
My new car, pay my home loan,
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
All that. Okay, I love it. You could use a little extra money, couldn't you? Okay, who else?
I would put it towards paying for my fall semester at school.
Love it. Love it, love it. Great. Who else?
I'd buy display stuff.
Say again?
I would buy more display stuff.
Oh, fun. Who else?
I would put it towards a new car.
New car, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Good one. Okay. Who else?
I would put mine towards going to the beach and also Glam Jam.
Mommy.
And Glam Jam. Yeah. Who else?
Mommy.
You have to unmute to tell me.
I put it on the credit cards that I'm using for Glam Jam.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Okay, anybody else want to share? Nope, you're all going to be quiet. Okay, well, I promise you, I just have this really sneaking suspicion that you're going to find a use for $500. Just guessing that somewhere in there you'll have a purpose for it. Hi, Heather, welcome. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is what is the structure that you're going to be shooting for in order to get that $500 bonus and the 40% on your own personal sales. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. Can you see my screen being shared?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good. So what I'm going to show you is in the back office on Glam Central. When you go under resources, go to downloads, and then you can go to career plan at a glance. That's where it is. All right. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about what does group leader look like, because group leader, don't let the word leader freak you out, because this is not something that you have to conjure on your own. You have all kinds of help. Remember, in our company, we do things very differently from anything in corporate America. So when you bring people into your organization, you are not entirely responsible for what they learn and how they start off. And in fact, when the newer you are, the less responsibility you will have, because your upline leader and I will pick up the slack to help you with all of them. But I want to give you the 4 key requirements for reaching group leader, which is what will unlock that $500 bonus for you this month. The first one is that your sales will be $1,200 or more. That's the first one. That one down. The second one, And if you can see, can you all see where I'm circling things with my,
Yes.
okay. The second one is $3,500 in group sales. So that's you and them combined. $3,500 in total sales for the month of June. And I'll tell you who them is in just a second. The third one is that your team, aside from you, has to contribute $1,000 of that, $3,500. Okay, so you can't sell it all. Go, hey, yay! I've got a group. I'm a group leader now. And the fourth requirement is that you need to have 3 personal sponsors who are active and qualified. So let's dissect what that means. So if you look down here at the bottom, this is such a good document because it actually gives you all the information that you need if you read it carefully. So PSAQ, personally sponsored, active, qualified. Active is someone who has submitted at least $1 in sales in the previous 3-month period. That's an active consultant. So you need 3 active consultants, okay? The second is that all 3 of them have to be qualified. Qualified consultant, it says here, is one who has submitted at least $500 in commissionable sales within a 1-month period. Qualification happens only once during the time that she's a consultant. Let's pretend that, I'm going to go back away from sharing. Let's pretend that you are bringing on 3 brand new people. The goal, and we're talking fast track here, right? We're not talking about, fiddling around and what to do next. Or that fast track here is you're going to find 3 people and get each of them to $500 in sales this month. We're talking baseline, bare bones. How do I get this group leader thing? So if they're all brand new, they each sell $500. So that means that they will be active, and it means they will be qualified, and you sponsor them yourself, right? So the PS, personally sponsored, active, and qualified, is met. So you need 3 of those people. You sell $1,200, they sell at least $1,000, and the 4 of you combined need to sell at least $3,500 this month. So those are the requirements for leader structure. So what do you earn? You'll earn 40% on your sales instead of 25 or 30. And you'll earn 9% on your PSAQs, on everything that they sell, okay? Now, you might ask me, well, what if one of them brings on somebody also? How much do I get on their sales? You'll earn 5% on their sales, okay? So you earn 40% on your own, 9% on your PSAQs, and 5% on everybody else, all the way down the line to infinity on everybody else for 5%. Okay. So now you're like, well, how do I get there? Okay. Here's how you get there. First part is party count. It really is all about party count. And here's why. It's because when you want to be a leader and stay a leader, and I don't like saying the word leader because people go, I don't want to be a leader necessarily, but I really want to earn 40%. Okay. If you want to earn 40%, you're going to do as many parties as you possibly can because it puts you in front of people. And most of your team is going to be made up of people that you have never met. So that's really key. Okay. Yeah, that's okay. Becca, I'll come right back to that question. I'm glad you asked that because she's asking about the 2 other people who are under her, that kind of thing. We'll get to that. We're talking about like the bare bones, you have nobody at all. So the goal is you're going to meet 3 people who want to come on board in the month of June and get them started and have them sell $500. It's actually not nearly as hard as you think it is. Now, example B, some of you already have people on your team. So Becca, for example, says, I have 2 people under me who never qualified or hit Glambassador. I will need to start all over to make leader, even if they start selling, right? Actually, no. So Glambassador, many of you know, means that they sold $1,000 in their first full month in business. That's a one-time opportunity. But that's all it is. It's an opportunity for them to get something special from the company. But it actually has nothing to do with you achieving something. It's a nice thing that we help them to do. It's nice because it helps us earn trips, right? But so let's take Becca's example. She's got 2 people who never qualified, which means they never sold $500, and they didn't hit Glambassador, obviously. Here's the cool thing. Somebody can qualify anytime. They can qualify a year later. They can qualify 6 months into it. They can qualify on their 3rd month. It doesn't matter. Qualified is qualified. Unlike Glambassador, which can only happen in the first full month, qualified can happen anytime. So the good news is those 2 people, if you can get them to be qualified, each sell 500 this month, they will count as 2 of your 3. Okay? I hope that helps. So let's say
Yes, thank you.
Does that help? Okay.
Yes.
So for the rest of you for those of you who already have someone on your team, does that make sense to you? And if it doesn't, ask me a question about it so that I can help answer it.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay. So I have a girl
Mm-hmm.
under me, and then she's have someone under her.
Right.
Neither one of them have done the 500.
Right.
So how would that work?
Uh-huh.
I would still have to get 2. Is that right?
You'll still need 2 because only one of them will count as a PSA.
Personal. Okay.
Yeah, right. Because this is all based, that's such a great question. This is all based on personally sponsored people.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
Great question, Debbie. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. So if she goes out and sells $500, then she counts as one of the 3. Okay.
Okay.
Who else? So if you've got somebody on your team, or 2 or 3, who never sold anything, if they suddenly get a wild hair and decide to sell $500, they will now become a PSAQ for you this month. All right. So there are lots of reasons for her to want to do that. Like she could make some money, for example. That could be pretty nice.
Sure.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Definitely.
Do your personals have to sell $500 each month, or it's $500 one time?
I love that question. It's $500 one time in order to be considered qualified.
Okay.
And then from there on out, to stay a PSAQ for you, they just need to sell $1 every 3rd month.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. Nice, huh?
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, so then there's this other side of that coin that says that those 3 people, assuming there are 3 or more, they have to contribute at least $1,000 in sales to the 3,500. So they can't all not sell anything.
Okay, and that's
something.
right. No, of course. So and that 3,500 is during a month.
It's in a month, in a calendar month.
Okay, and out of that 3,500, 1,000 has to be from the personals.
From the team.
From
And the
team.
funny thing is, it doesn't even have to be from the personals. It could be from the people that they've brought on. It could be anywhere on the team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I know. Kind of funny, huh?
Yeah. Thanks.
Sure. What
But-
other questions about that?
Okay, let's go back to that again. So
Okay.
it's 3,500.
Uh-huh.
So we can do more than the 12. Let's say you have the 3, and they only, between the 3, only did 1,000. We did 12. That's only 22.
Correct.
So we would have to do a little bit more than the 12 in order to hit that 35.
12 is our literal minimum requirement.
Right.
Never what you want to actually shoot for, because remember, you're earning 40% on whatever you sell. Wouldn't it be better to sell $5,000 and get 40% on that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So basically, you can do, let's see, what would be the number I'm looking for? You could do like 2,500 yourself, and as long as they did 1,000, you hit your 35, you're good to go.
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
gotcha.
You
Okay.
got it. You've got it. Susie, do you have a question? You look like you're
Yeah, I did. The
Good.
3,500. Now that is every month, right?
yes.
Okay, just wanted to verify.
Yep. That's a great question. Yes. And then the clock starts ticking again on the first of every month. So each month is its own thing. Yep. Its own commissionable entity. Okay.
One other
So
question.
Jenny's question was, what does it look like if you were not qualified as a leader month to month? That is a great question too. Nothing bad. It just means that you wouldn't get paid 40% on yourself and 9% on them. You don't lose them. Instead, you would earn either 25 or 30% on your own sales, which is great, and you would earn 4% on your team, on your frontline team, the personally sponsored team. You would not get paid on anybody below them that they've brought in until you come back up to group leader, but you don't lose anybody. In fact, the only way that you could ever lose your team is if you yourself go inactive, which means you don't sell $1 for 3 months in a row. And don't worry, you won't ever come anywhere close to that because we are always communicating. So that will never happen to you. Susie.
One other question. Can you enroll as many as you want wide?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes. Go for it.
Please.
Go. I want to see it. Go. It's a contest. Go. Susie, have there nobody's ever asked me that question before. I love it. In fact, I'll fly to Indiana if I have to to help you. Okay. So any other questions about that?
Nope.
Okay. Are we all clear on what it takes to get the 40%? Okay. All right. Now, so I started talking about party count because this is a party business and the magic happens at the party. There are 3 key things. And when you are a business builder, like all of you are, the most important thing that happens at parties is looking for new consultants to staff your team. That's the real reason that we are at parties when we are a business builder. It's because we're looking to meet new women who are needing what we have to offer. Because maybe they need a side gig, maybe they need something part-time, maybe they're looking for full-time, maybe they just want a hobby or some new jewelry or some friends. But we will meet them by and large at our parties. So the more parties we do, the more women we meet, the faster our team grows. It's a really simple equation. People ask me, gosh, how many parties do you have to do? You know what? Honestly, it's up to your calendar. We're going to talk on the 9 o'clock call for the people who are already a leader. That, you know, kind of like when you're taking music lessons and learning a new instrument, you do a weekly lesson. It's kind of that way with parties. You need to be doing at least 1 party a week on average in order to grow, because A, it keeps you really fresh, and B, it gives you a constant stream of people coming in front of you, and it gives you plenty of time and breathing room to actually work with all of them. So I want to talk about some of the nuts and bolts, and then we're going to do a little bit of role playing about sponsoring, and then some Q&A at the end. Okay. So one of the things that you can do, because we're talking about quick hit here, we're talking about hitting this in June, whether you have 2 people or 3 people already, or 1 or 0. First things first, your hosts this month are your prime suspects, okay? You can sponsor your hosts. You can, what we call, flip your hosts if you want to. Now, it's tricky when you do this because you want to be sure that she's actually worthy of being flipped. Not every host is going to be a great consultant. And sometimes we are better off keeping her as a host for her benefit and for ours. However, we want to, more often than not, offer the business to our hosts and watch for the response. Now, as we're host coaching her, you're going to see that some hosts you wouldn't even want on your team. Like, ooh, she's not getting this. It's not we're not tracking here. But then there are the other ones who you can see she'd be great at it. She's already got a party booked for you. She's already got a couple orders in. And you're thinking, wow, she's great. I would never want to flip her. She's such a great hostess. But you know what? It's not about us. It's actually about her. And maybe she would never want to do this business, but honestly, maybe it's the thing that she's been looking for and dying for. We have no idea until we offer it. What we're looking for is those little flashes of possibilities in her. So our hosts can be flipped this month, potentially, and they could be one of, or two, or all three of your three people that you're looking for. How do you flip her? There are lots of nuts and bolts in that. I'm not going to go into those because of time, but talk to your upline sponsor or leader about about the technicalities of flipping hosts and when you want to do it and when you don't want to do it, because it can be a huge blessing to them, but it can be a big negative when we do it with people that are really not ready for it. Okay, so that's about sponsoring hosts. So your hosts this month are your number one target. The next thing I want to share is that the reason the parties are so important is because that's not only where we meet new people, but it's where we can plant seeds, because we have them in front of us for an hour and a half, 2 hours. And that entire time is when we're planting seeds. So for those of you who have done some parties recently and have used the 5-part party presentation, for example, tell me what some of those seeds are as you're reflecting on what our parties are like. Like Shanna, for example, you're a good one on this because and Heather, for example, what kinds of seeds are we specifically planting when we're doing our parties?
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead, Shanna.
My turn? Okay. Yeah. Right before I do the 2-minute Q&A, I give them sample questions. Like, you could ask me, how much is it to get started? How many parties do you do a week? How much do you make? And how much do you make off the people you recruit? And then also in the party presentation, which I learned from the video, they say, well, maybe you want to get out of credit card debt. Or maybe you have a kid in college like me, because that's my why. Or maybe you just want to go buy the shoes or handbags. Maybe you want to go on a vacation. Or maybe you just want to get out of the house for the few hours. But everybody has a different why, and this could be for you too. So that's what I do.
So you plant that seed, and you're trying to open up their mind, different kinds of people, because people don't come to a party looking for a business.
No, I had 2 ladies that were sitting on the couch, and they're like, I want shoes, I want a handbag, and then they just joined. It was hilarious.
Love it. Love it. That's great. Heather, what about you? What kinds of seeds do you intentionally plant at parties?
Sorry, I had to put on my customer service headset.
So official.
Yes, I know. Thank you all for coming. I love what Shanna said, and I definitely do that as well. But for me and for the team that I am trying to bring to me, that I'm trying to attract to myself, I focus on kind of dropping little, almost subliminal seeds about how fun my job is and about how delicious the cheese is and the wine and the whatever. And you guys, by the way, I'm at work. Did you catch that I'm working right now? Isn't it unbelievable? Stuff like that, like just little silly kind of fun things. And I have definitely had people, especially teachers, you guys, if you know teachers and you're talking about summer jobs at your parties, I know I'm doing that right now. Teachers have really stressful, difficult jobs, and they are not having fun most of the time. And so when you say to them, well, how would you like a summer job where you get to go to a pool party and, drink other people's wine? Like, doesn't that sound amazing? They will be like, yes, girl, that does sound amazing. So that's sort of what I do.
I love it. Other ways of planting seeds at parties are things like keeping everything that we do really duplicatable. So for example, when we're bringing everything into the party, we're doing it in 1, maybe 2 trips at most. We have an easy, simple setup so that it doesn't take us 45 minutes to set up our jewelry. It takes us 10 or 12 minutes to set up our jewelry. And boom, we're done. Voila, that looked easy, right? Everything needs to look and actually be easy. Our 5-part party presentation, you're going to use your party cards or a script in your hand every single time so that you are duplicatable. So that the women in that room can go, oh my gosh, I could do what she does. In fact, I could probably do it a whole lot better, right? That's what we want. That's what we want. We don't want to know the whole catalog. We want to be able to say, I'm not sure what the price is on that. Let me go check it. I always make a joke out of it. Actually, I think there are 2 prices. It's the one I think it is, and it's one that it really is. Let me check and see what it is. I just make a joke out of it. Because if I can be self-deprecating appropriately, I will not only be approachable, but I'll be duplicatable. Because I'm not that perfect, scary consultant. The worst thing that someone can say to me at a party is, you were so incredible. I never want to hear that. I seriously never do. Because it means nobody will ever want to do what I do. Because they'll think that they have to do it the way I just did it. I want to be professional, and I want to be fun, and I want to be kind and sweet, and I don't want to be perfect. So all of these things are subliminal messages when we are at these parties. Now, what about the intentional side? So there are some intentional things that we're going to do. Shannon mentioned in the 5-part party presentation, we do the Q&A, and we do our why. Very important to be heartfelt, tell the truth, keep it brief and sincere. But when we're doing our checkout, or when we're talking one-on-one with people about their orders and things like that, that's when we want to lower our voice, get rid of the sales idea. Like, some of us have a tendency to just like put on a little sales voice. This isn't this at all. We're talking about women's lives here. We're talking about women's, livelihoods here. This is important. And so we want to find out what they're thinking. So I might say, Susie, thanks for asking me that first question when I was doing the Q&A. I had to ask though, why were you curious about where our trips go, where we go on trips? Or were you actually really curious about the price of the kit, or were you just being nice? So I'm trying to figure out what was really going on in her mind. A lot of times it's because they actually were really wondering what was going on. So with, what's going on with their business, what's going on with the opportunity. It takes a little bit of courage, but this month at every party, I want you to find a way to bring the conversation around to those women that you really like. Now, ideally, from here on out, as future leaders and as group leaders and above, you'll be going to every party with 3 things in mind. The first is, I'm looking for 3 potential team members. The second is, I'm looking to book 2 parties. And the third one is, and I'm going to sell a bunch of jewelry, because that always happens no matter what we do. The focus is very different. So we are looking intentionally for these people. At checkout is where you're going to find yourself having the best short conversations. And you want to be prepared to send home a copy of the Glam Plan, a copy of the $99 starter kit, and the Sparkle brochure. Those 3 things need to go home with those people. You can even bring copies of all 3 of those and give them to everybody if you really want to. You're welcome to do that. I like to keep a copy of the starter kit on the display table, the $99 kit. And when I'm showing pieces in my Dress the Guest, I'm saying, by the way, this ice bracelet and this Chanel necklace, they're both in the starter kit, which, by the way, is $99 this month. So for $99, you can literally start your own turnkey business with $600 in jewelry that includes these 2 pieces of jewelry, the ice bracelet and the Chanel necklace. Together, they're worth twice that. So you're going to be planting these seeds. At the end, before people leave, you're going to be saying, I don't know if you would ever consider doing what I do, but would you be interested in taking some info home about it? It could be, if that's all you can get out, that is great. It's better than saying nothing at all. But it might be something more complex. Like, Sharon, you mentioned that you guys are about to retire. What are you thinking about doing after you leave your company, and asking really good questions of women, because it's about them. It's not about our opportunity. It's about whether the opportunity fits in their lives. And sometimes we have to plant that suggestion in order for them to go, I would have never thought of that, because women don't come to a party looking for business. Okay. Now, there's another way of sponsoring outside of parties, and I call it proactive sponsoring. This is where, kind of like what we were talking about earlier tonight, which is you just simply reach out to everybody you know and you offer them the business. And you can do that. And in a month like this, when your goal is to make sure you have free PSAQs, this would be a good time to do it. You could literally say to yourself, in the next 48 hours, I'm going to reach out and tell 20 people about this business. See what happens. You know, and you're probably going, I feel so squishy. I know, but squishy is where you actually get what you want. It's just really true. Some of you are like, yeah, bring it on. I'm going to offer it to 50 people. Go. I mean, there's Susie out there. She's like, how many can I do? How many can I bring on? I don't know. How many can you? I'm dying to find out. And that's the proactive sponsoring method. It doesn't take the place of the parties, because the parties are the sustainable practices. That's the sustainable habit that keeps us going. But when you are in a time crunch like this, and you know you want to get to group leader by the end of the month, you start doing some things that you wouldn't normally do necessarily. And so I want to challenge you. Think of 20 people that you really like, who maybe they're busy, maybe they're not busy. Maybe they love jewelry, maybe they don't love jewelry. I was not a jewelry girl. I was not selling jewelry before I came to Touchstone. It wasn't my thing. But I loved business. Maybe, what was the third document to send home with them, Jenny asked? So the first one is the glam plan. The second one is the $99 kit. The third one is the sparkle brochure that came in your kit. Okay. That's a great little thing to send home with them. And then the goal there is to set up a time to talk to them. And that's what you're going to do too when you're doing proactive sponsoring. It might be, hey, I just started with Swarovski's new Touchstone Crystal jewelry line. This is so much fun. Are you looking for a side gig? Let me know. And that might be all you message to people. Don't give them a ton of information the first time you reach out to people proactively. Just say, this is a ton, I just started with this thing. I love it. It's a ton of fun. Are you looking for something? Keep it really short and sweet. And by the way, you know, you can reach out to a whole lot more people when you're having to write less. And then wait and see what happens. If they say, yeah, I'm looking for something, then you set up a little time to talk to them. And that's when we're going to role play here in just a minute about what do you say to somebody who is a little bit curious. And I'm going to need somebody, Heather, I'll probably use you. Somebody who's a little curious. And we'll do a little role playing to show you. But let me answer this question. Susie asked, how do you have a party when you only have a few pieces of jewelry? That's a great question, because that's exactly how everybody starts. First of all, see it as an advantage. A lot of it is our posture. It's a huge advantage because it's duplicatable. And when you do your first party with just a few pieces of jewelry, women know that it's your first party. And you can say to them, I got 8 pieces of jewelry for $139 or $99, depending on when somebody started. And I have this great new business with Swarovski. I got my whole back office. I got these beautiful catalogs. And here, let's try every single piece on. For each one of you tries every single piece on of my 8 pieces, I'm going to give you a ticket, right? And then they're swapping jewelry. And now they get to feel the ice bracelet. They get to see what the Chanel looks like. They get to see how pretty the earrings are in their ears when they're dangling next to their ears, right? They get to see what the Angelique looks like on their neck, the collar necklace. So don't be ashamed of having 8 pieces. It's posture. It's all about posture. A lot of it's going to come through the catalog, but they're going to be seeing what some of the jewelry looks like. And here, I mean, the key for those of us who are business builders is that women are going to go, wow, she just sold $800 with 8 pieces of jewelry on her table. That's crazy. She just made $200 with 8 pieces of jewelry on her table and that beautiful catalog. Now, you can take one of your catalogs and cut out some of your favorite pages and put them in lucite stands and say, I highlighted 5 of my favorite pages because I couldn't stand, since I don't have them to show you, but these are the ones I really want the most. When I close out my party and I get all these free rewards from the glam plan, these are the first things I'm going to be choosing to bring in as my free and discounted jewelry, right? Because they know it's your first party. That's okay. And you say, and by the time I do all the parties that you all are booking with me, I'm going to have a whole lot more jewelry because I'm the host of my own party. And the glam plan for the new consultants gives me a ton of free jewelry and 70% off everything in the whole catalog. So here again, you're sponsoring people because they're going, I could do that, right? It's all in our posture. It's all in our posture. That was a great question. Thank you for that. Okay, so let's pretend we get to where the rubber meets the road, and we're going to do a 5-minute role play, Heather and I. I'm a consultant, and Heather, I met her at a party, and she was a little bit curious about the business, and so the next day we're actually chatting by phone. Because she's just a little bit curious. Okay, somehow I got her on the phone the next day, and we're talking, or whatever the scenario is, but we're talking for the first time for real about this. So Heather, are you unmuted?
Yes.
Good. Okay, Heather, it was so nice to meet you last night. Thanks for coming over to Susie's party.
Oh, sure. It was so fun. It was my pleasure.
Good. Okay, so you mentioned that you were a little bit curious about the business side of things. Tell me about that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I work at a nonprofit. I don't make much money, and I have a lot of children and a husband who works all the time. So I'm just kind of looking for something different where I can have flexibility, I guess. But I'm not really a salesperson, and I'm not really a jewelry girl. So I don't know.
Have you ever tried anything like this before, like in parties and things?
Yeah, I have, and it didn't really go anywhere. So I don't know. I felt like I was doing everything that they said, and it just wasn't really working. So it's probably just me.
Oh, oh, that's too bad.
That was really hard because that's not true. But yeah, that's what people say.
But obviously something about this was a little different for you, even though you're not a jewelry girl and your first 1 or 2 forays into this business didn't go well. You had that sparkle in your eye, and you said something to me last night. So what is it about this you must have a sense of something.
Yeah, you just seemed like you were having a lot of fun, and it just seems like a really easy party to do. Like, I know when I did my other companies, it was a lot of
Heather, I can't hear you. Can y'all hear her? Okay, I can't hear her. Can you hear me?
Can you guys hear me?
And now I can. Yep. Sorry, I was the only one.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Sorry.
That might be my thing.
It was mine. No, it was mine.
Okay. I was just saying that my other companies were really hard work and drudgery, and you just seemed like you were having a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. If you were to do something like this again, how much time would you want to spend on it?
Probably, I could probably work like once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Like do a party once a week.
Right. And if you were to try something like this again, how do you have sort of a dollar target of how much money you wish you could make?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to make $1,500 because that would cover a mortgage payment, and that would be great.
That would be great. Yeah. So $1,500 divided by 4 nights would be somewhere around $375. So that's a little bit of a stretch for a new consultant, but it's something that would be doable if I taught you how to focus on $1,000 parties, for example, and if maybe there was wiggle room in the number of nights that you'd be willing to go out or days. And also, maybe if you picked up a team member or 2, that would help add to it as well. How are you going to make a decision about something like this?
Well, I talked to my husband about it already, and he was really supportive, actually.
Oh, okay.
So that's encouraging.
Okay.
I guess I just would need to have some reassurance that, like, I would be supported. That was the other thing in my other companies was, as soon as you sign on the dotted line, it's kind of, you're cut loose to the wind. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like you probably wouldn't do that to me, right, Betsy?
That certainly would not be my intention. No, we actually have some systems and training opportunities weekly in place that really help to make sure that doesn't happen to people. But what kind of support do you feel like you didn't have and wish you had gotten?
Well, whenever I had a question and I asked my upline in my former company, if she didn't know the answer, which was often the case, she would just tell me she would get back to me and then never get back to me. So it was really frustrating because I wanted to build my business and I was really committed to it. And I just felt like she never really had time for me and I never got my questions answered. And it was hard because I couldn't ask anyone else. There wasn't like a place where we could go and ask questions.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let me do a parenthesis here. Did you notice that I have not said one word yet about the nuts and bolts of what we do? I spent the entire time asking her questions about her because it's all about her. And my goal is for her to talk herself into the idea of doing this, to share what's really in her heart about why she would consider it at all. I use soft language. If you were to consider something like this, why would that be? If you were to do something like this, how much time would you want to spend on it? So I'm trying to get her to flesh it out in her own mind. A lot of us kind of have a hunch about something, but we need somebody to help us to talk it out. That's our job. We have the privilege of helping her talk it out and kind of put wheels on it a little bit. And then what I can say is, so Heather, what kinds of questions do you have for me about the nuts and bolts of this? So that's how I turn it around. If we haven't gotten to that by now, then I can shift it around so that I'm letting her drive the questioning. I'm not like going, here's everything I know about the company and we can go to Glam Jam together and then we're going to earn incentive so you can be my roommate and then you're going to earn $1,000 and then you're going to get a BMW. And suddenly her head's ready to pop off. And I scared her away because it was never once about her. It was all about everything I knew to tell her about the company. Right? So now I'm going to flip it and say, so what kinds of questions do you have for me to start off with?
And can I just say something really quick too? What I love about the way that you train on this, Betsy, and the way that we're all taught to do this is that what we're doing is leading her to clarity, her own clarity, whatever that is. And everybody loves to talk about themselves and everybody wants to feel wanted and listened to and heard. And so that's what we're doing here. And that's what's so awesome about it. So I would ask, are we therapists? Sort of, Penny.
No. No, we're not helping them solve anything. We're just simply asking good questions.
Yeah, we're giving them space to find it themselves. We're not finding anything for them.
No.
We know what we have.
Right.
And we're just saying, what is it that you want? Does it match or not?
Well, we
That's
have.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So nuts and bolts. I would like to know a little more about the compensation plan because that was the other thing about some of my other companies was that, you only got paid one level down and, when you promoted, you lost money and that was like nobody ever wanted to help you promote. And so that was really frustrating.
Wow. So, okay. So when somebody asks me, how does the comp plan work? I'm going to turn around and ask her a couple questions before I answer it. And I'll tell you why. Some women are really great at numbers and other women just want to know what's the base pay rate because the rest of it would freak them out. They won't know what to do with it. However, some women understand comp plans like they do their own, backyard, and they need to know all the details. So I want to understand what her frame of reference is. And so I might turn around and say, so Heather, you sound like you know a little bit about compensation plans. How deep in the weeds do you want me to get with that answer?
Oh, I just want to know about like the first level of leadership because that's kind of what I've got my sights set on right now.
Okay.
If I was to do it again.
Okay, good. Right. So now I understand. So what I'm trying to do is figure out what is she really asking me? What is she really asking me? And sometimes the best answer that I can give her is another question first, because I may give her an answer that just is too much. You don't want to go into the weeds on things when you're having your first conversation with somebody. You don't want to get too much detail because it might be far more than she needs to know in that moment as she's trying to decide if she even wants to do this at all. Like, I'm not going to start telling her all about, the
car allowance.
yeah, like the car allowance. Like, no, like, yeah, you can get a BMW and then move on, right? Too much detail is going to freak her out. Okay. So with Heather, thank you. I appreciate it. We're not going to go any further on that. But so these are the kinds of conversations that you're going to get really good at having. And you want to have as many of them as possible. With anyone who's just a little bit curious, hey, since you're a little bit curious, do you have just a couple minutes? And we can, just talk through it real fast. Because we don't want people to be scared of talking to us. Like, oh, she's going to get me now. Oh, she's going to reel me in and make me sign up. Because there are people like that. But that's not us. It's not us. We want to honor her. We want to give her space to think it through and gain clarity. As Heather said, beautiful word. I'm so glad you said it that way. So those are the keys. All right. So the goal is do as many parties as you can. Sponsor either through parties or being proactive. You can sponsor your hosts. And use a sponsoring mindset that is all about that person and not about your goals. However, when she says she's ready to do it, then you want to focus her on what's in it for her and what the possibilities are. $500 in sales gets her to be qualified. $1,000 in sales gets her to Glambassador. 2,000 in sales gets her level 2, 3,000 in sales gets her level 3. These things, it's not for the first conversation, but you can let her know that there are a lot of great incentives that would come her way. And the good thing about that is that it sets her up for a mindset of, they have all this stuff and I really want to shoot for it. So as soon as she's ready to get started, she now knows that there's a lot that she can shoot for, and she's going to be far more ready emotionally and in her head to make that happen. And that plays into your strategy of 3 PSAQs on your team by the end of June. Okay. All right. So we have a few minutes before I start the group, the actual leader training at 9 o'clock. So what kinds of questions do you all have? What didn't make sense, or what are you nervous about, or what ideas do you have? You'll have to unmute, sorry. Do you have some ideas now? Can you do it?
It's hard because I feel like I've mentioned it to people, and I've tried to invite them to the winery that we're doing down here in Virginia, the Sip and Sparkle and winery, and they are just so scared because, like you said, that's such a stigma about this kind of a business that they like Heather was doing all the excuses. Oh, I'm busy and I have kids and my husband, and that's what you. And so it's. I'm not discouraged. I'm very pumped up to try and really, get those 3 people. But oh my gosh, it is frustrating at the same time. You feel like, oh, what am I doing wrong?
Nothing. There are lots of no's. Lots and lots of people out there who are not cut out for this, or this is the wrong time. That's just normal. Yeah. In fact, the concept of going for no is a really good one. Get as many no's as you can, because it means you're going to get yeses. It really is a numbers game in that regard. But some of it is keeping our eyes open and asking the right questions. So somebody might say to me, oh, I would, I really do want to make some money, but I really don't want to do anything in parties. My question, so immediately I go to a question. Oh, well, why not? I want to know why. Like, why does she say that? I'm not going to argue with her. I'm just really dying to know why she feels that way about it.
Okay.
So consider that when somebody makes a statement to you, we can believe them, but it's really good to flip it around and ask them to tell us what experiences have contributed to that.
Okay.
Maybe it's things that they are perceiving incorrectly.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Nora. What else? Oh, Susie asked, are there any males doing this business? Yeah, we've had a few over time. No guys who've been terribly successful with our line. We had one guy go to director, and then he left to go to a different company, another jewelry line. But he was doing very well. He was 22 years old in college. He would have done very well if he had stayed. I was really disappointed that he didn't because we really loved him. But he was like everybody's son, you know. We enjoyed him a lot.
What about using Facebook Live for parties?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, for me, my personal litmus test is it's fine in a blizzard, and it's also fine for somebody who I can't get to physically.
Okay.
Like if I have to cancel because of a blizzard, I'll do it that way, you know, or her.
Okay.
But I prefer leaving that too. But that's your call. There's nothing saying that we can't do that. But if I can do a live party, I'm going to do a live party.
So if I have like one of my best girlfriends from college, let's say, who's in Texas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, would that be an appropriate?
Yeah.
And would she, if she was to invite her friends, would she get a host? Like, would it be considered the same thing in terms of like the host gift and all that stuff?
Yeah. So she would get all the hostess free goodies. I mean, you could do it a couple different ways. One is if she wants to get her friends to her house, and they all come over for Bellinis and bling, and you send her a couple people. You send her a couple of pieces of jewelry and some catalogs, and you go on Skype with her, or Zoom, you know, and kind of do the party presentation and talk to everybody. I've done launch parties that way for people in other places.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. Great question. Any other questions? Okay, who's going to do it?
I sort of wanted to say something.
Okay, Cindy.
I had a lunch interview yesterday with a girl, and she had all of the assets except her mindset, you know. And so it just reminded me that I don't know if I could change her mindset. But, you know, even after we left, she was perfect. I mean, she had won a contest for designing purses for Elle magazine. She's very creative. She can do anything she wants to on that line. And I've told her how that she could incorporate it with what she already had. Yeah. I was so excited for her, but it was her mindset that was holding her back because after I left, she said, well, I showed this to 2 people and they're not really interested. Well, they didn't really, I might have should have just gone for have a party at first because people don't appreciate just what they see in the catalog. But I think, you know, like she's disappointed. She said, well, I've tried this so many times. I've been so disappointed. I can't do MLM. And I said, well, you know, this is really not MLM. This is more like direct sales, and it's not a hard sell. People see it and then they want it. I mean, that's their desire. Yeah. You don't have to sell it. And she still has that failure mindset. But I just felt like, oh wow, she's African American. She's got a lot of friends, and she's just so talented, you know, creatively that I could already picture her in the business, you know, being successful. You know, I'm not going to give up on her, you know, but I will go back and, you know, after she sees me with some success, I know that, you know,
good point.
You can't judge your present by your past. You have to begin again. And so I believe a lot of people will have more of success attracts success.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking that in the future, the people that I contact at the beginning, you know, I say, well, you know, I wanted you to be one of the first to know because I really thought about you because I'm just so excited about this company. It's just, you know, everything I looked for so long. You know, you look for something and you can't find it, and then all at once it appears. You just want to share it with the people that are, you know, like down and out, but you know, usually they're down and out for a reason. It's all in their mind, you know. That's all I had to say.
You know, also, Cindy, going back to that gal, I think it does happen a lot that we end up having conversations with people about the business who decide that they're really not interested in it. but then they decide to do so they just need more time and more space to think it through. And if we can get them to do a party with us and we host coach them in a systematic way and they have fun at their party and they see the reaction from their friends, sometimes that no can turn into a yes. We've had a lot of people up on stage at Glam Jam over the years who said, I said no the first couple of times that they asked me to do the business. I did a party every now and again, and then I finally saw what my consultant was seeing, and then I signed up, and now I see the whole big picture. So sometimes that first no is actually no, not right now, and she doesn't even realize it.
Right.
Yeah.
I have another girl that works with 200 girls, and so she's taking my jewelry to work tomorrow. So we'll see how that goes too, because the catalog is good, but seeing it in person is so much better.
Changes everything, doesn't it? I know, it's really true. Okay, it's 9:02, and I cannot thank you enough, ladies, for hopping on. Wonderful to see all of you. I cannot wait to see what you do this month. You can do anything you want to. We've got 26 days. That's a lot of time in the jewelry world. So stay in close touch with your upline leader so that she can work with you and help you get what you want. Because I would love to see the company give away $500 to each one of you. How many have we got here on this call? We have 20 of you. There are 19 people on this call. Those of you who aren't leaders yet, so maybe there are 15 of you, that's $500 for all 15 of you. That would be really sweet. I would love to see that happening. Okay. I am going to stop recording somewhere here.